You know, the real secret to modern content creation? It's actually not the writing anymore. It's the unglamorous, often completely ignored data plumbing running underneath everything. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into Roundup Forge, the data layer that literally feeds the beast. Because right now, there is a massive shift happening in how we build pages at scale, and it all starts way beneath the surface.
If you look at almost any best product article online today, there's this massive hidden assumption built right in. The assumption is that the hardest part of creating that page was actually, writing it. But let's be real, that's just not true anymore. Competent prose is now nearly free. AI can write it, a human editor polishes it in seconds, and boom, you're done. So the actual bottleneck, the part that decides whether you should genuinely trust a recommendation, is something else entirely. It all comes down to what you're feeding your content engine in the very first place.
And there is a huge modern danger we're all facing here. Skip the data validation, and you just end up publishing confident nonsense. And honestly, the internet already has way too much of that. If you point a super powerful content engine at bad source data, you don't magically get scale. You just get scaled mistakes. You end up with these beautifully written, incredibly persuasive articles that are recommending absolutely terrible products. To fix this, you really need a data supply chain. One that makes all those boring, repeatable judgment calls to turn raw catalog noise into real, actionable truth.
So, it all boils down to one crucial question. Which products got recommended and why? Fundamentally, that's a data problem. It's not a writing problem. Are these 5 separate listings actually the exact same item? Which products actually have a real-world signal behind them, and which ones are just coasting on a super thin sample size? Trying to answer those questions by hand just doesn't scale, and that is exactly why Roundup Forge exists. It acts as that essential supply chain, deciding whether a product roundup is a defensible recommendation or, just a wild guess dressed up in really good grammar.
Let's pop the hood and see how this systematically operates. This brings us to the engine room, a 4-stage conveyor belt.
What happens here is a highly structured, pretty ruthless process. First, keywords go in, and we're not talking about just a handful. You can push up to 10,000 keywords at once to capture the full, messy sprawl of a category. Second, the system scrapes across 21 different global Amazon marketplaces. Third, it deduplicates the results by ASIN. That's Amazon's unique product identifier. Now, this step is absolutely huge. The same item constantly shows up under variant listings or bundles. Without deduplication, you might accidentally recommend the exact same product 5 times and boldly call it a top 5 list. Finally, it ranks the survivors by review confidence and exports them into clean, structured formats like CSV, JSON, or ZimWriter. What comes out of this isn't an article. It's the pure, machine-readable raw material that a trustworthy article has to be built on.
That brings us to the secret sauce: edit by subtraction. The philosophy here is fascinating, because the true power of this system isn't just about what it finds, it's really about what it outright rejects.
See, there is a massive trap that almost everyone falls into when building these lists: naive ranking. It is a fatal error to just sort products by their average rating. Think about it. A product with 12 reviews and a flawless 4.9 average is not inherently more trustworthy than a product with 12,000 reviews and a 4.6 average. It's just drastically less tested. If you only use the average rating, you systematically push brand new, thinly sampled, and quietly gamed products straight to the top. Roundup Forge fixes that exact issue by ranking by review confidence instead. It heavily weighs the volume of the signal. If a product has too little data to properly judge, it's flagged as exactly that, uncertain. Because sometimes the absolute best, most defensible editorial move you can make is just refusing to rank a product you can't confidently stand behind.
Remember step 2 from that conveyor belt? The number 21? That number carries immense business weight. Most Roundup operations lazily assume a single storefront, usually the US. But if you do that, your pricing and availability are going to be completely wrong for a reader sitting in Germany, Japan, or Brazil. A best-selling kitchen gadget in the US might just be a frustrating dead link for someone in the UK. By scraping 21 distinct Amazon marketplaces, the resulting product packs are properly localized, not just translated. It uses the catalog and review signals that genuinely apply to where the actual reader lives.
So you've got this incredibly powerful plumbing. You'd think they'd lock it in a vault, right? Well, that leads us to the open source moat.
Surprisingly, this data layer is actually released as open source code under the AGPL 3.0 license. Now, why give it away? Well, because the code itself isn't the true moat. Sourcing infrastructure is valuable, sure,
But the real secret sauce is the editorial judgment and the operational brand structure wrapped around it. Open sourcing the data layer buys something way more valuable than secrecy: undeniable editorial credibility. Anyone out there can inspect exactly how the ranking works. But, and this is key, the specific AGPL 3.0 license is incredibly clever. It's fully open to inspect, but competitors cannot just quietly strip mine the code, wrap it in a closed SaaS product, and sell it without contributing back. It's kind of like giving away your grandmother's famous recipe, but enforcing a strict rule that anyone who uses it commercially has to share their kitchen improvements with the whole neighborhood.
Of course, no system is completely perfect, and we absolutely need to be clear-eyed about the landscape this operates in. Let's do a reality check: bulls, bears, and Amazon.
Starting with the bear case. The biggest, most glaring risk here is single platform concentration. This operation is built entirely on Amazon. If Amazon decides to change its terms of service, slash its associate commission rates, or suspend accounts, the value of this entire data layer can be repriced literally overnight. There are also genuine compliance gray areas around large-scale marketplace data collection. It's a space operating right between strict terms of service and acceptable industry practice, which takes constant care. And finally, while review confidence is leaps and bounds better than naive average ratings, review fraud absolutely still exists out there. Raw volume can be faked. This system raises the barrier to entry significantly, but it doesn't magically erase the persistent problem of manipulation.
Now, pivoting over to the bull case, just look at the fundamental infrastructure shift happening here. We're moving away from the trap of relying on writing as a differentiator and shifting heavily toward using data quality as the true differentiator. We are moving from the deeply flawed average star rating over to genuine review confidence ranking, and we're moving from assuming a single US market out to 21 accurately localized global markets. As the cost of prose drops to absolute zero, boring compounding data infrastructure like this becomes a massively durable advantage. It is quite literally the difference between an engine that just scales output and an engine that scales trustworthy output.
Which leaves us with this absolutely crucial thought to take away from our explainer today. As the sheer act of writing commoditizes to zero, what exactly is your data supply chain building its trust on? Are you just blindly sorting by stars and publishing confident nonsense? Or do you have the unglamorous, bulletproof plumbing required to actually know what you're talking about? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will leave you to think on that.